r/AskReddit. What's the weirdest thing you've seen happen at a friend's house that they thought was normal? Went with a few friends to one of their family's houses for a birthday party when I was like 15 or 16. We smoked weed, swam, and had a great old time. After eating, we settled in to watch a horror movie, and at some point I looked around me and everyone in that family was sitting in the same crisscross applesauce position and slowly rocking back and forth while watching TV. Definitely not the weirdest thing on this thread by far, but something about it was extremely creepy. They were nice as hell though. 15 years ago. Visit a friend house who live in San Francisco around 3rd Street, bad neighborhood area. Upon entering, passed by the kitchen, 4 gas stove flame was in full blast, not cooking anything, no vent. You can literally see a big burn hole in the ceiling all the way through the 2nd floor room. His mom was upstairs, one of those rooms far away from the bottom floor kitchen, watching TV in full blast. Long story short, they are basically using their gas stove as a centralized heater for the whole house. I'm a certified fire safety director at my work. This almost gives me a heart attack. Not really weird, I guess, but first time in my husband's parents' house, just a friend at the time, I got to see what a hoarder house looked like. It wasn't even a well-known term/condition back then, so it just really shocked me seeing the giant mounds of stuff everywhere and having to navigate through it all. His room was clean, the rest of the house, not so much. My family were very comfortable and my mom always babysat lots of kids from around the neighborhood. Basically her place was just where the kids hung out. Once there was an emergency with my dad and my mom really needed somebody to watch me overnight, and I wound up with one of the families that she babysat for. They were really nice people and I was close friends with their kids, obviously, because they were at my house every day. It was a new experience though. This was the first time I'd ever seen people living in real poverty. I was kind about it, and I didn't say anything, but parts of it were a real shock to me. The toilet didn't work, but they had just continued to use it to the point that it was piled up to the seat. We had to unscrew the light bulb to turn off the lights because the switch would shock you if you touched it. I felt really bad for them. It was just a real eye-opener for me as a kid, and it gave me a much better understanding of exactly why my mom babysat and fed all those kids. I babysat for a family on occasion and the kids would always ask for a cool cup, and I had no clue what it was. They asked for them constantly but were too little to really describe them enough for me to understand. I mentioned it to the mom in passing one day and she started laughing and cut the tops off of some bell peppers and took out the seeds and then filled the peppers with tap water. The kids went nuts over them like they were treats. It was really weird to me that drinking water out of bell peppers was a thing to beg for on the regular. Growing up in rural East England, had a friend who lived on a working farm. They had the stereotypical big English farmhouse. Lovely old place. No flat floors or straight walls anywhere. Anyway, downstairs was an interesting layout. They had a room that was almost hidden away that you could easily miss unless you knew it was there or noticed it from outside. So, this room, I only ever went in once, maybe twice in many years of being friends and going over their house quite a lot. It was their Christmas room. It has decorations up all year round. And during the year when they bought presents they'd wrap them and just put in the room and leave them there until Christmas. It was awesome in a sense though. A whole room for this is great. Often when it came to Christmas time they'd forgotten what something was that they got for another family member. I'll be the weird family. My dad is a doctor, and one day my friend came over who had a totally blackened toenail from getting stepped on by a baseball cleat. No problem, my dad says, just some blood underneath the toenail. We can relieve the pain by puncturing a hole in the toenail and letting the blood flow out. Well, he proceeds to get out a Dremel, tiny drill, sterilize a new drill bit, and drills a small hole in my friend's toenail. Blood shoots out of the hole into the air. My friend and I were screaming and laughing the entire time. It worked. He was instantly relieved of his pain. My friend asked if this was a normal occurrence in the house. I told him that my dad has always been the go-to for caring for friends, neighbors, etc. But this did indeed take the cake for being the best procedure he's done in the house. My house, but looking back it's unusual. My dad was a doctor, and it was not uncommon for him to take a patient's blood on the way home and store it in the fridge next to the orange juice overnight. Then take it to work the next morning. Can't do that these days, of course, but the 70s was pretty wild. One of the first times I met my husband's family, I was over at their house and husband gestured for me to sit down and be comfortable. Their house was really very cluttered. Not quite hoarder cluttered, but close. They had a couple of couches facing each other, and then some other chairs. Not knowing the rules, I sat on one of the couches, which had a lot of stuffed teddy bears on it. OMG, you would think I had sat down on live bears. There were probably 20 to 30 small medium stuffed bears on this couch. Husband's mother and twin brother both visibly reacted as if I had damaged the bears. Not antique bears either. That was when I was told that the couch was for the bears, and only for the bears, and that no one was allowed to sit on the bears' couch. Just the bears. The bears all had little beaded necklaces with their names on them to tell them apart because they were all the same brand and style. When I was 7, I went over to play with a new friend and she asked if I wanted a snack. I said sure, and we went into their playroom where there was a mini fridge just stacked with candy, full bars of everything, and she casually tossed me a pack of Rolos. Now, the house was a manufactured home, not a trailer purse, but definitely not like the usual house either. I know this doesn't indicate how much money the family had, but this was not in an upscale neighborhood or house. I marveled at A, the largest amount of candy I have still to this day ever seen, and B, the fact that she and her siblings all just had free access to it at such young ages. She was surprised at my surprise and asked what did I keep in my snack fridge. I told her I didn't have one of those, and then it was her turn to be absolutely gobsmacked at the idea that I didn't have a mini fridge full of candy just at my disposal and whim. Went to friend's house as a kid. Sitting at the dining table for lunch. House phone rings. Everyone falls to the floor around me, including the mom and dad. I'm the only one left sitting there. The dad informs me that I now must answer the phone. Hello? Johnson's house. I hold the phone out to the dad. It's for you. Everyone laughs. I am so uncomfortable. The next time that phone rang, I was the fastest to the floor, I can tell you that. Such a fun, loving family. Loved going around there. When I was in high school, a friend asked me and 2 other friends to his house for dinner. His mom served homemade bean soup, which was very good. Toward the end of the main course, she brought out chocolate cake for dessert. She cut each of us a slice and plopped it into our bowls, in which we each still had about an inch of soup. Us guests exchanged puzzled glances, but the family dug right in, so apparently chocolate cake soaked in bean soup was an ordinary thing for them. I had a friend when I was 13 to 14 whose family didn't speak at all when they ate dinner. The first time I ate there, I tried to make conversation and got a super weird glare and shake of the head from the mom. After dinner was done, everyone would just go back to doing whatever. I remember thinking at the time while I ate in awkward silence, why would anyone want to eat like this every day? I come from a family of 8 where dinners were chaos, so maybe I was conditioned too far the other way. I celebrated Christmas with my high school girlfriend's family one year. It was her mother's turn to open her presents, and she opened one from her daughter, then one from her other daughter, then finally one from her husband. Then her husband started pulling tiny hidden gifts for his wife from everywhere. Earrings from the couch cushions, necklaces, bracelets, a bag of candy, and flowers. He had at least a dozen presents hidden everywhere, from behind the curtains, in a lampshade, behind the TV, in a closet. They just kept coming, and he had the biggest grin on his face. When he was done, he wished her a Merry Christmas, told her he loved her, and kissed her right on the mouth in front of me. It was wonderful but extremely weird to me. It wasn't until that display of love and joy for his wife that I realized I had never once seen my own parents act the least bit affectionate towards each other. That I had never heard them say I love you to each other. That's when I realized it was my family that was weird. It wasn't until that display of love for his wife that I realized that it was manly to be romantic and to show love and affection. Her parents were wonderful people, and I will always regard them as role models. I hope they're doing well all these years later.